Okay, now let's go ahead and test the pH of each of these drinks. Now the pH is done where we use actually pH test drops. And these test drops are actually the same drops that you would use to test the pH in a pool. And we're just going to put 4 drops into each of these glasses. Now the pH scale ranges from 0 to 14. And what you want is you want to be on the high side. You want to be as high as you can get. You don't want to be on the low side. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to stir these up. We're going to stir up this first one here, the Sprite. And you can see on the, basically on the low side of the pH scale, you've got very, an orangish color, which is what you don't want. You get into here to the vitamin water. I thought vitamin water was supposed to be good for you. Well, it's got a very low pH to it. We get in here to the reverse osmosis waters. This surprises a lot of people when they actually see this reverse osmosis water. You go to the store and you buy these bottles and you think that it's really good for you, but yet you can see it just doesn't have that much of a pH value. Now this last glass, this is the tap water. Now this tap water here is, it's blue. And some people get excited about that because actually the pH value of this compared to all these other drinks is much better. Much better. But what they don't tell you is that the federal government mandates that tap water be at least 7.0 in pH. And so because of that, they use various chemicals, lyes, and anything they have to put into that water to get it to go to here. In fact, a lot of times when you filter this water, you will actually see that the pH values come back to this range once some of those chemicals are filtered out. So let's see what happens when we actually take some of our 9.5 water here and we just mix a little bit of it right in. Look what we just did to that tap water. We changed that tap water and we took it from an acidic, or actually it was a somewhat neutral state, to a very alkaline state. We're going to do the same thing over here to the Aquafina, and it very quickly turns purple. You can see that. Here we go again. We're going to get it to go purple just by mixing in some of our water. Now these other 3 over here, I actually want to, I want to go ahead and use our water, our 9.5 water, and I'm going to pour it directly in. Now watch what happens when we do this. Isn't that amazing? We're not getting any color change at all. In fact, if I go over here, we're not going to get any color change in either of these drinks. They are so acidic that it's actually going to take anywhere from 25, 30 cups of our water, of 9.5 pH water, when we mix it into these other waters, or these other drinks, to actually get it to go neutral. In fact, I'm going to show you that because this is so potent. I mean, look at this soda here. This soda is so potent that if we just take a tiny bit and put it right into one of these cups, it immediately takes away the alkalinity of these. I mean, take a look at that. It is just, it's absolutely gone. And so very, very quickly you can take an alkaline substance and turn it into a very acidic substance. I want to clear these.
Now there's somebody here today to show you an eye-opening demonstration about the water we drink and this remarkable machine from Japan. His name is Bob Gridelli. Hey, Bobby. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Pat.
Why don't you take over?
Great, I will. So I want to welcome everybody, and I'm going to go into the demonstration here, and I'm going to show you the 3 unique properties of this water and why it's so very special. The first property I'm going to show you is what's called the ORP, which stands for the oxidation reduction potential. And we're going to show you that with a meter that shows whether a liquid has a positive ORP or a negative ORP. And if it has a positive ORP, that means it's bad for you, or it's oxidizing, or aging, or rusting. We all know what that is, right? And so if it has a negative ORP, that's what makes it a powerful antioxidant. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to pour some of these liquids first. And we're going to start with Dasani. And these are, we just put together an array of liquids that most people drink, right? Did you drink any of this? Dasani? How about Aquafina? Yes. I think I used to drink all of these. And how about Smart Water? Yes?
My holistic doctor gave
You're a holistic doctor. Okay. I'll show you what I call it in a little bit. How about the Arrowhead sparkling water? Yes? Anyone like that water?
They have different flavors.
That's why I kind of like those, all the flavors. Actually, this was my favorite water. It's called Alive. In a second, you'll see what I call it. How about sports drinks, Gatorades? Yes, everybody like those? I used to drink a lot of sports drinks because, you know, you see athletes drinking it, so it must be good for us. How about sodas? Do any of you drink sodas? Okay, and this is just tap water. Anybody drink tap water? And then this is Kangen water. Okay, so this is the pinpoint ORP meter. Now we're going to test the ORP of the Dasani. So notice Dasani is over 215 right now. Now we go to the Aquafina. How's the Aquafina? Go over 220 and climbing. How about the Smart Water? Over 230 and climbing. How about Arrowhead? Over 315 and climbing, getting worse. Alive Water. This was one of my favorite ones. 400, now I call it dead water. How about Gatorade? Any of you drink Gatorade? Like 393 and climbing. So remember, the worse, the more positive it is, the worse it is. How about 7-Up? Now, all sodas are pretty much the same, just we use light colored. So you'll see 394 and climbing. How about the tap water? 325. Here's the star of the show, you guys. Look at negative what? Negative 400. Now negative 426. So as you can see, when it has a negative, this is the only water that has a negative. That's why they call it negative water in Japan. That's why they use it in hospitals over there, because all the positive ones are oxidizing, aging, rusting, bad, internally on the body. But the negative water is neutralizing the free radicals, so that's why we want to drink this water and hydrate your body on a regular basis. Now we're going to show you some other properties of the water that we can use for different purposes in your home. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some tomatoes here that I just got at the grocery store. So these are some Nature's Sweet tomatoes. And how do you normally clean your fruits and vegetables at home? You rinse them in the tap water, right? So we're going to take these Nature's Sweet tomatoes, and I'll try to pluck these out really quick. And you rinse them in the tap water, right? So we're just going to simulate that by pouring some tap water in here. You ladies didn't know you were going to do a little taste test today, did you? And we're going to take another bag of the Nature's Sweet tomatoes, and we're going to soak them in what's called strong Kangen water. And strong Kangen water is at a pH of about 11, 11.5. And the reason I put it in a black container is because three things affect the properties of the water. That is air, light, and movement. So we always store them in black containers when we make the water and we're going to use them. So we'll just soak some of the tomatoes with the 11.5 strong Kangen water. And while those are soaking, we'll let those sit there for just a minute. And we're going to take some, this is pure sesame oil. And we're going to take some sesame oil, and I'm going to show you while those are soaking what this water can do to the sesame oil. Now what happens, basic science, what happens when you mix water and oil?
They don't mix, they separate.
It doesn't mix, right? So notice how it's starting to separate. So watch when I take the same oil and put the strong Kangen water in there.
Oh, wow.
What just happened?
Emulsified.
It emulsified, or it mixed the oil. So we're going to show you today with this water how you can use it for different purposes at home to clean your produce. You can also use it, put it in a black spray bottle like I do, and clean the house with it. So we're all concerned about the chemicals in our home, right? So we can now get rid of all those chemicals and make water that you can use as a degreaser, a cleaner, your 409, you can replace all of those. So let's go back to the tomatoes. How about that? So remember, these were soaking in the tap water and simulating how you clean them at home. And I'm just going to scoop them out of here and try not to make a mess. Okay. That's the tap water. We'll set them right there. And then we're going to do a little taste test. Are you ladies up for a taste test today? Okay, let's get I call these Kangen tomatoes. Now, notice the difference. So, you thought you cleaned your tomatoes in the tap water, right? But did you really?
No.
Notice what just came off the tomatoes.
Everything.
Herbicides, pesticides, oxidation, anything that's on the produce, because they use oil-based pesticides that don't wash off in the rain. So guess what? Regular water doesn't have the ability to take those off, but Kangen water has the ability to take them off, just like it broke down the oil over here. So let's go ahead and let's pass these around. We're going to go ahead and have each one of you grab one of the Kangen tomatoes, I call them. And let's do a little taste test. Those are kind of big, so you might not want to bite them in half. I would just bite the whole thing, or you might get tomato on you. And so we're going to let them try the Kangen tomatoes really quick. Hey guys, I'm Italian, and I didn't used to like tomatoes. That's pretty sad, right? But guess what? I found out it wasn't the tomatoes I didn't like. It was what was on the tomatoes that I didn't like. So how's the tomatoes? Are they pretty sweet? Not too bad?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we're going to go ahead and pass these around. And this is the tomatoes that how you normally clean them and how you normally eat them. And let's see if we notice a difference, or who can notice a difference in the taste.
Sour.
Oh, you got to get a picture of these faces. Look at the face. Look at the difference in the taste. So that now you understand why I didn't like tomatoes. Like I said, it wasn't the tomatoes I didn't like. It was what was on the tomatoes that I didn't like. Everyone notice the difference? Absolutely. Yes. The first one was much better? The first one tasted more like you got it out of the garden, right? And it was natural and no pesticides, and it was sweet. Even the texture's a little different. And the second one, you guys, because guess what? You were eating the tomatoes with this on there. And that will definitely affect the taste. And guess what? When you clean your produce with this Kangen water, the strong Kangen water, your produce will last a week or so longer. So one of the other benefits of this technology and the different waters that we can make that you can use in your home for different purposes.
Now, as we just discussed, the actual cleaning properties of this water is quite important, because typically, when we go out and buy our fruits and vegetables, or if we go to a good food store, to anywhere natural and buy something organic, a lot of times we'll take those and we will wash them under the sink. That's not such a good thing here. I'm going to run some more tap water just to show you what we have in our tap water. Now we're going to run a little bit different test here. We're actually going to test the chlorine, the amount of chlorine that we have in this tap water. We'll put 4 drops there. We'll go ahead and stir this up. And that yellow color, you can see, is a ton of chlorine. That is a lot of chlorine. And of course that chlorine's put in there, I guess, to protect us. But I certainly don't want to put this chlorine into my body. A typical glass of chlorinated water, if you take a shower, a 15-minute shower, you're going to absorb anywhere from 6 to 8 glasses of that chlorinated water through your skin, which of course is your largest organ. And so you don't want that to happen. But here's what happens when we go down to the store and we buy a fruit or a vegetable or whatever it is, and we decide to wash it off. We would normally put that right under the tap. Well, we're going to show you what happens when you do that. Get this nice and chopped up. I'll just give this a nice little bath. There we go, making a mess. Put this right here. We're just going to give this a little stir, just like we would. I know my wife jumps in the bath and she'll take a nice 15 or 20-minute bath. Well, the good news is that, we have a nest spa that we've actually got in our home. So when we bathe, we don't have to bathe in this tap water, because this onion now is representing our skin. This onion also, it would be like any of the food that you would decide to run under the tap. And if you do that, watch what happens here. As we pour this out, take a look. What happened to that yellow chlorinated color? You know what happened. It's gone. The reason it's gone is it absorbed right into the onions, which now, of course, we're going to eat. I just put more chlorine drops in there to see how much chlorine's left in that water, and there's none. So what happened when we took our fruits and vegetables and we washed them under the tap? I think you just realized it. We didn't wash the vegetables, we washed the water. We literally cleaned the water, we filtered the water that we let go down the drain, and we put the chlorine and the other chemicals right into the food that we're about to eat. So that right there is pretty dramatic.
So now I'm going to show you the technology that makes the different waters that we showed you in the demonstration. And this is what's called the SD501, the Leveluck SD501. It's the top of the line unit that we have, and it's the gold standard in our industry. So with a touch of a button, I'll show you what we do. We simply hook this up to the sink right here. As you can see, the ordinary tap water coming out of here. And by diverting the water into the machine, as you can hear, it talks to you. So right now, that quick, we're making the water. I'm going to shut it off just so we can hear. So
Kangen Water 8.5.
as you can hear, 8.5 pH, so that's the alkaline drinking water.
Kangen Water 9.0.
9.0
Kangen Water 9.5.
and 9.5. So we have 3 levels of drinking water. The next water I'm going to show you in this green section is 7.0. It's just neutral water, and it says clean water. And it's for taking medication. So when you're taking medication, just use this water. And about 30 to 45 minutes later, you can go back to using the regular Kangen water. Now, when you're taking your nutritional products or natural products or green drinks, you definitely want to use the Kangen water because you want those to work much better, right? So you want those to be twice as strong and absorb much better. The next water.
Beauty water.
Beauty water. So everybody wants to look more beautiful, right? So you never have to buy toners again, because this water will rival your best toners that you buy in your department stores, $20, $30, $40 a bottle, $50 a bottle, because we simply change the pH of this water to about 5.5, and that's exactly what toners are, because it acts as an astringent to tighten, tone, and soften your skin. The next 2 waters.
Strong acidic water.
Strong acidic water. This is a water that's about 2.5 pH. And this water is very acidic. And how we make this water? By adding a salt solution that's being added to the tank as it's being electrically charged. So when you're making this strong acid water, coming out here is the strong alkaline water, because we're separating the water. We have the strong acid water coming out this hose down here, the strong alkaline water coming out this hose, because remember that pH scale of 14? We're always splitting that. So if we're making 2.5, subtract that from 14, and that's what's coming out here is the 11.5 that we use for cleaning. All right? So those are the different waters that we make. So let me talk a little bit about the technology, and so you understand why this is the gold standard and why everybody compares themselves to Enagic. Because what's happening first, the water's first going through a double carbon antibacterial filter where it's filtering the water first. Then it's going through inside of here what we call the engine of this machine. I'm going to show you something that nobody else shows you, especially these other machines, the so-called competition on the market today. Right back here is what is the engine, and this is 7 large platinum-coated medical-grade titanium plates. And the water's passing through these plates, and it's being electrically charged with 230 watts of power. So the 2 most important parts of ionization are the size, surface area, and quality of these plates, and the electrical current that's happening to the water as it passes through the plates. So remember that, 2 most important qualities when you are looking at an ionizer. The next thing I'm going to show you, well, let's compare a few too. I'm just going to do this because they're never going to show you this. Some of the machines on the market today, the so-called competition, is not going to show you what the inside of their plates look like. because look at the difference. Look at that. And they call this competition? Look how small they are, you guys. These are so cheaply made. That's why none of the ionizers can really do what this does. Now I think you get to understand why you don't want to go with anybody else, and this is the golden standard. One other thing I'll show you about what makes this the golden standard is we simply spin this filter off, and we have what's called a manual cleaning cartridge. No other ionizer has this on the market. And because what happens to all ionizers are they start to build up with the inside the plates, you'll get the scaling from the calcium that's in the water. And what happens to the other ionizers, they all have a self or automatic cleaning system. None of them are good enough to completely clean the machine. So we simply spin this off, put on our cleaning cartridge, and you can actually clean this machine anytime you want. So I use mine, more commercially because I give away a lot of water. So I put a cleaning cartridge on mine once a month. They recommend you do it every 3 to 6 months. So, but the fact is we can clean this anytime we want. That's why this will last 15 to 20 years. 5-year warranty on everything. So I think you can see based on what I showed you today, and you'll understand why this is the gold standard in the industry.